Hi, everybody. My name is Allison Hall, and I work for the Institute for Community Inclusion at UMass Boston, and I'm a Senior Research Associate.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Bowes, and I'm a Research Data Coordinator at the Institute for Community Inclusion at UMass Boston.
So this presentation is about our recent study of the Charting the LifeCourse framework through a social media strategy. Our Research and Training Center on Advancing Employment for People with Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities has been a holistic approach to studying employment. We've concentrated our efforts in the green circles. So we've studied state policy and strategy, community rehabilitation provider practices, employment supports by direct support professionals, and individuals and families. And this presentation in particular is going to focus on our work on individuals and families. Our earlier research on employment planning with families showed that what they want from the disability service system is easily accessible information. They want early engagement. They want to know as early as possible how they can continue to be engaged in planning for their sons and daughters. They want to be a valuable part of planning. Less fragmentation. We've heard a lot about families who say they receive supports from different agencies and they want greater continuity. And then finally, support to help their loved ones achieve positive employment outcomes. So this is some background about what we have found out through previous research that families want from their disability systems.
In this study, we wanted to follow up that earlier research and learn more about best ways to communicate with families and give them the information they need for planning. Our key questions were, does online engagement with Charting the LifeCourse affect parents' attitudes and expectations about employment and community inclusion? And does online engagement affect incremental actions, those sort of small steps they can take toward building a vision around employment? We provided families with a number of things: resources from the daily life and employment section of Charting the LifeCourse, weekly outreach through a Facebook group for participants, and accompanying resources, tools, and videos from Charting the LifeCourse and other related sites, also talking about planning for employment, opportunities to build relationships with other families through online chats, and access to experts on employment, transition, and Charting the LifeCourse content. The participants completed a survey so that they could screen into the study. Then they joined the study's private Facebook group, and they checked it regularly. They completed Charting the LifeCourse tools, and they participated in 5 monthly online chats with those experts and other participants. At the end, they completed a survey of how the study had gone for them. We also interviewed participants who agreed to a follow-up interview. Why did we use Facebook? We chose Facebook because 2/3 of US adults use it, and because families wanted more engagement through a familiar social media platform. 65 people screened into the study at the beginning and joined the Facebook group. 58 participated, and 26 ultimately followed up and took the survey at the end of the study. We kept the participants engaged by posting the tools and resources on Monday and following up again with a prompt about that week's post on Friday. In between, we responded to participants' posts, especially if they were questions, suggestions, or comments targeted at the whole study group. Just before we describe the study's results, this is a comment from one of the participants explaining how her family used the Charting the LifeCourse materials. This was perfect timing for us. My daughter is going for an interview today for her first part-time summer job. She met with the owner of a local food market yesterday, and they asked us to come back tomorrow to meet with the woman who runs their bakery. We plan to bring her one-page profile with us.
So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the demographics of the participants who actually were involved in the intervention. As you can see in this slide, the majority of parent participants were white mothers between the ages of 40 and 49. 2 fathers participated. The children of the participating parents were slightly more diverse in terms of race, although still most were white. Ages were spread out fairly equally from 12 to 18 years old, with a slightly larger group of 14 to 15-year-olds. So as Jen mentioned, there were 26 participants overall who completed pre and post-test surveys. From these participants, we were able to measure change across 3 constructs. And we were able to compare the constructs from before participating in the Facebook intervention to after participating in the Facebook interventions. The constructs were measured using a variety of questions, and we asked participants how much they agreed with each statement. We used a Likert scale from 1 to 6, where participants could go from strongly agree to strongly disagree. So the p-values that you can see here are 0.046 and 0.001. So because those p-values are less than 0.05, it means that these findings and expectations for the future and incremental steps towards change are statistically significant. So participants' expectations around short and long-term goals were much higher post-test than they were in the pre-test, and participants were participating more and more often in taking incremental steps in their daily lives towards getting their kids ready for the future. So I'm going to talk a little bit about expectations for the future, workshop or job in the community. And here we're going to dig a little deeper into exactly what statements that participants were responding to. So changes that we saw with respect to expectations for the future. I think my youth young adult will be able to find help if she has trouble finding a job shortly after finishing high school. Participants were more likely to agree with this statement after participating in the intervention. I think my youth young adult will go to a sheltered workshop shortly after finishing high school. Participants were more likely to disagree with this statement after participating in the intervention. So the next area we see is incremental actions towards change. Remember, these are small steps that parents can take to influence their children's trajectory. On the next 2 slides, you'll see statements that parents were more likely to agree with after they participated in the intervention. My youth young adult is learning about different jobs from family members, teachers, and others. My youth has a transition plan that's individualized and prepares them for adult life. And my youth knows their interests and likes and dislikes as they relate to employment. Other statements they were more likely to agree with after the intervention. As a parent, I talk to my youth about employment goals regularly. As a parent, I discuss my youth's employment goals with a teacher or other professional. And as a parent, I know how to support my youth and maintain community connections.
Based on what we learned from this study, we plan to do our next study with more participants, more ethnic and income diversity in the sample, over a long period of time, delivering small chunks of information using a greater variety of media platforms and prompts. Now, especially with the current context of a global pandemic, engaging families online and mostly at their own pace seems like a particularly good way to conduct research and keep families informed. For more questions, please look us up at thinkwork.org. Thanks for watching and listening.